This video is going to introduce you to the Hlookup function. The Hlookup function is a flipped version, or rather a rotated version, of VLOOKUP. So while VLOOKUP looked in the left column of data and looked for something to the right, Hlookup is going to look at the top row of data and look down for something below it. So in this case, we're looking at a set of bond portfolio data, for example, or a loan portfolio. And the data is organized vertically, so Hlookup isn't going to really have a natural interpretation. And really, that's true a lot of times when we're looking at data. We tend to organize it vertically. We're going to use this nonetheless to show you kind of how Hlookup works. So in this case, we're going to do our Hlookup. And what we're going to look for is for loan amount. So with Hlookup, right, we have to look for a category now. We're essentially going to look across our top row of our category labels and look for one of them. So in this case, we're going to look up the loan amount. Now our table array, just as before, we have to include all of our data. That way we can get access to it. So we're going to lock that full data. Recall that we're going to look for loan amount only in that top row. All right, so the third argument we need, remember in VLOOKUP it was how many columns to the right we wanted to look. Now it's how many rows down you want to look. So in this case, let's look for our first loan. So we want to go one row down, which is actually the second row. And just like before, we're going to use false for an exact match, just like we're doing right now in class. All right, so what we see in this case is 454,301, which is this loan amount in the second row. If we wanted to get a different loan out, well, we could change this. Let's change it from the 2 to, say, 5. So now we're going to get the fifth row. We count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there is where we see the 428,131 that the Hlookup value is returning to us. All right, so let's say we don't want the loan amount anymore. Now let's change it to the interest rate. Now we'll be looking at interest rate across the top row. And now we get 0.09, which is the interest rate associated with this fourth loan down, right, which is in the fifth row. Notice I have a bunch of random numbers moving here. I'm actually going to copy those. And this is a nice situation to use paste special values. Right, I don't want my random numbers to keep moving around, so let's lock those in so they stop moving on us. All right, and again, we see 9% is the right value there in that the fifth row down, which is our fourth loan. You could find loan status, for example. Let's go ahead and type it in here. And notice we get a hashtag NAR. Right? That's because loan status is not actually in our data at all. We can actually go back and fix it, put the space in, and make sure it exactly matches one of our headers. Now we see that the loan status is late for loan 1004. So Hlookup is doing the same thing as VLOOKUP. It's just doing it flipped on the side. And now Hlookup, again, doesn't come up that much just because how we traditionally organize our data, but it is occasionally useful and good to know. Also, XLOOKUP, just as it's replaced VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP can also replace Hlookup. So let's just look real quick. Let's add that in here so you can see how we would do that. So we do XLOOKUP. We're still going to look for our loan status in this case. The lookup array, well, it's going to be where we have those headers. We lock that. Now, what data do we want? Let's say we want, again, this kind of fourth loan, the fifth row. We can lock that. And now we get back that same answer. And if we change this to loan amount, both formulas move and give us the same answers. XLOOKUP is just a little bit more flexible. Just like it's more flexible than VLOOKUP, it has the same additional flexibility for Hlookup. We can just use it horizontally instead of vertically.